Hi guys, welcome. David Pinson here, Pinson. For some reason, the little what's it called the where it's got the words flow on the bottom of the screen. For some reason, it's always called me David Vincent. So Pinson, David Pinson here, um, from the Philippines. Today is January 4th in the Philippines, 2026. Tomorrow is my birthday. A friend of mine said we don't celebrate birthdays because they're like pagan. So I'm like, interesting thought. So how do, so I don't really know what this video is about. I just turned it on and we start talking and we hope that the Holy Spirit comes in, you know, makes Himself well known to us. But I think about this and I think about I have all kinds of people that I'm friends with or that I'm acquainted with that have all kinds of different ideas about things as far as following the Lord. And I think about that idea, like I understand where it comes from. It actually the Jehovah's Witnesses believe that, and some of the Puritans believe stuff like that. So when you get into the Puritans and the holiness people, the Puritans, they didn't think we should celebrate Christmas, but it wasn't because it was pagan. Like it wasn't because it came from some kind of worship of pagan gods or some kind of stuff like that. That wasn't the read. By the way, I found a really good video on the whole for next Christmas from Back to Genesis, which pretty much everything I believe is in there, and the guy's a very good Bible scholar, so I let him explain it to you. But anyway, so they didn't. It wasn't so much they said, well, you can't celebrate Christmas because it's an evil thing and it's pagan and it comes from people worshiping trees and different things. They didn't say that. They didn't. Because I had another commenter of mine who, by the way, I'm sorry, I accidentally muted your comments. I don't know how I did it, and I can't undo it. I've looked at several. If you know how to do it, let me know. But I've actually muted one of the only people that's been commenting lately, and so I can't bring him back. So if you're watching these, I'm sorry. You can still comment, but I can't see your comments. So you might want to go to Facebook, Philippine Bible Ministry, if you want to. You can comment there, or you can just send me a message through Messenger on Facebook. That's the best way anyway. If you really want to have a conversation about something, um, rather than depend on the 5 or 12 people or 15 people that see my videos, you can just send me a direct message and then we can have, I would love to have conversations about any of the things I talk about if anybody would like to do that in private, not necessarily air it out front because I don't know. I just want to keep, I want to stick to the essentials. And if things are like, I think there's a lot of rabbit hole people down there. Like this is a rabbit hole, this idea about birthdays. But let me get back to it for a minute because it's my birthday. So how about this video would be, it's my birthday. Tomorrow's my birthday. I'm going to be 70. Let's say setente. Setente? Is that it in Spanish? They use Spanish here too in Visayan. So I think Tagalog too. They use Spanish because it was a Spanish colony for over 200 years. So Spanish is embedded in the language, and so is English to some degree. So anyway, so the reason they didn't celebrate Christmas was because they didn't celebrate anything. They didn't believe in celebrations. They thought they were pagan, not pagan like we need to worship a god or anything, but pagan in that they were self-centered. They thought it was like you shouldn't be dressed up, you shouldn't have lights and bright things, and you shouldn't be doing this. You should just focus on God, and and you know what? I will say this: it's like people that don't watch TV. There's nothing wrong with that. Is it? There's a lot of nonsense on TV. I watch TV, and it's one of my it's an addiction I have, and the Lord's been working on me. That's I've told that story many times, um, and the Lord's doing well. I'm doing well in Him, obeying Him on that because my time in that is a lot less than it used to be, and every year goes by, I redeem my time more. I spend more time in Him and less time on that. So, but it's okay to have some hobbies too here and there. Some people have music, some people have TV. As long as it's not anything sinful, you know. And I don't think birthdays celebrating is sinful. I don't think it's sinful. I understand what they're saying though. Is if you anything that's centered on yourself, right? Jesus said, deny yourself, right? So I understand their feelings about Christmas because they didn't think you should celebrate like that, right? They didn't think celebration was a good thing. They didn't think parties were a good thing. They didn't think festivities were a good thing, which is interesting because if you go back to the Old Testament, which we're not under the Old Testament, but I'm just saying you go back to some people who were very legalistic and very like this is the way you do things. You can't even heal somebody on the Sabbath day. That's how serious they were. It doesn't matter if somebody's life was destroyed and you made them whole. It's the Sabbath day, right? And those people love their festivals. A week. People don't realize the Passover. Well, that's just a Passover. No, it's 8 days. 8 days. Those people party, man. When they have a festival, they last a long time, and the people are happy and they're joyous and they're dancing and they're. So you could say you don't want to celebrate things. That's fine. My wife and I, we're not really big on celebrating birthdays either. Not a lot in here in the Philippines. It's a big deal. They always celebrate birthdays and they celebrate. Oh, our village has been here for 70 years. Celebrate! They like to celebrate everything, and that's the other thing. It's part of the culture, right? When you become a missionary or I'm still going to do a video, another one on sent out ones. When you become a sent out one and you're sent out to do God's will somewhere, some other land, you have to accept the culture to a degree as long as it's not sinful. I say people jump over the smoke when they leave a graveyard because they don't want the spirits to come with them, which is very pagan, more than pagan. It's almost demonic, really, but they don't realize it. So I don't stop and say, I don't stop and yell at them and say, don't do that. But I do tell them why I don't do it, right? So I think the same thing with the birthday culture and the celebration. So we don't do big, and the family's finally starting to understand that Joji and I, we don't do big celebrations on our birthday. We don't need the lechon, and we don't need 80 people over here. We don't need a big to do. It's like, yeah, and when you get older, I don't know that I guess 70 is a big deal, but I'm okay with not celebrating myself. So like I say, I understand the idea of not celebrating, but I also am good with people celebrating anything, especially if you're in a third world country, especially if you don't have anything. For them, it's all about food. Like even Christmas, they're much more happier with a plate of spaghetti than they are with a little gift. For the most part, people are hungry over here, guys. A lot of people don't have a lot of stuff. So I just want to talk about that. I want to talk about it's my birthday. I'm 70 years old, and so what have you learned in 70 years? Well, I still feel good. I feel. So here's the thing. Scripture says in Isaiah, I think so, Isaiah, I forgot where, but I know where it is. I can go look it up. That's a good thing. I don't have to memorize the location because I know what it says. It says those that wait on the Lord will mount up with eagle's wings, right? They will run and not faint, right? And so I used to think that for years in my Christian walk, I thought what I was taught, and I was taught that, or it was inferred that, or for some reason I got from the teaching that I heard that was for believers, that was for young believers. For some reason, I thought, those will mount up with eagle's wings. So obviously, it's young people who are strong and they wait on the Lord, and then He gives them these eagle's wings, and then you know. What was it? I can do all things through Christ, and so then you can do all these things because you have the strength of God, and that's part of what it means. But I see it now as in a totally different light because I've lived it. So once you live something, it becomes a different thing than what you were taught, right? It's like someone says, Oswald Chambers said, "Don't ever." I think it was Oswald said, "Don't ever try to teach something that you haven't lived." So if I'm talking about holiness and I'm still struggling, then maybe I should shut up. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like don't go to a marriage counselor that's been married 3 times, right? Stuff like that. Be sure you're living something out if you're going to preach it. So those that wait on the Lord. So I waited on the Lord for 30 years. For what's he? 1997. We'll do the math. Do it with me, guys. This is how my brain works. It helps me. Maybe it'll help you think it out. So until about I say 2017, 18. I say 18. So I got saved in 93, not 97. What is it? So I got sober in 88, and then I got saved in 93. So 93, 2003, 2013, 2023, right? 2000. So 2013. So 25 years. So it took about 25 years for waiting on the Lord. Well, and when I say waiting on the Lord, I don't mean I was just sitting in a room praying for 25 years. That's not what I mean. I was praying. That's a whole other issue of how I learned to pray over the years. But I was praying, but waiting on the Lord just meant that I was every day I would ask Him what to do or what my life is. And ever since I got saved, so here, I'll just tell the story and this will be what the video is about. See, there you go. I knew it would be about something. So I got saved in 93 at the age of 37. It's a ripe old age. It's very rare for people to get saved at that age, by the way. Very, very rare. My father didn't get saved until he was 85. It's even more rare, right? So when I was 37 and I'd lived pretty much a sinful, pretty bad life. There's a book I have, God Touched Me. It's also in the book um, Why the Philippines by David Pinson, Pinson, on Amazon.com. You can buy those wherever good books are sold. Actually, you can only buy them on Amazon because no one reads my books. But it's okay. I take that $10 a month or $7 a month I make from those books and we put it to God's use. They're good books though. My wife likes them. I trust her. Anyway, I think they're from the Lord. Maybe someday He'll sell my books. He's my algorithm. Anyway, so at the age of 37, I became a sold out Christian. What do I mean by that? My whole life changed. My heart changed. My political party changed. Everything changed in my heart. Everything changed in my life. But I was too intense. Like I wanted to be a preacher. I wanted to be a pastor right away. I like, oh, this is it. I need to go tell people, oh, this is what I want to do with my life. I gotta go. I was already a failed college graduate in life and much failure in my life and financially, and it took the Lord a while for me to finally surrender to Him. But all this time I was pushing. I want to be in the ministry, and it didn't work out. It didn't work out. I'm not gonna tell all the stories of that one time I quit my job and I told everyone I'm going to Bible college, and it didn't work out. So I reached a point where God did start to use me. He started using me in Bible studies. He started using me. I was helping out in the Sunday school, right? So I was helping out with the men's Bible studies. I 2 different times or 3 different times I would go to the pastor and say, I want to be in the ministry. And they would like, oh, then why don't you go work with so-and-so and we'll see how that goes. So I was actually trying. So from the time I got saved, and when I first got saved, I was crazy, stupid, right? Because people are, if they have that fire that comes in them and they're just ready. I was one of those guys. Read the Bible after I realized it was the Word of God. After 2 or 3 months after I was saved, I read the whole Bible in like 2.5 months. And what does it mean? I don't know, but this is God's word. And I was just that guy, and I volunteered for Salvation Army. I just showed up one day at Salvation. Said, I want to help you guys. What do you want to do? Anything. I love Jesus. I'm a Christian. There's a local talk show in Albany, Oregon. What was the guy's name? Ron something. Anyway, so I used to talk to him all the time. I used to call him up all the time because he had a Christian talk show and a Christian radio. I call him up all the time. Hey, how you doing? Oh, this is what happened. I got saved somewhere. I had a recording of that. I don't know if I still have it. Well, I got saved this year and I got baptized and my wife got saved. And my baby, I have a baby, and. So I was really on it, and I would actually go visit with that guy a couple times and talk to him about following the Lord. And I also volunteered for a hotline, a Christian hotline where people were crisis line or whatever, people were calling for prayer line. And I was a baby Christian. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to do something. And it was too much. And then God set me down, and then I went through a bunch of stuff, and eventually, like I say, I got involved in some ministries here and there. I was working at a Christian school, and I was like leading the chapel services, which is like every Friday we'd have a mini church service. There was kids that could play the guitar and sing, and they'd do worship, and then some of the teachers would do the message, and nobody really wanted to do the message except me. So every now and then, one of them would come up and want to do a message, but mostly I did those. So I was like working with kids already, youth, preaching and teaching and then everything blew up. I lost my marriage. Everything blew up on me. And then I came to this place, sort of like Moses, I guess. I'm not Moses. I relate to people, and the stories in the scriptures sometimes. I think we're supposed to. But anyway, so I came to this point where I was just done because I wasn't done with the Lord. Or will you leave me too, David? No, I won't leave you, Lord. But I was done with it all. And I said, I'm just going to sit over here, Lord. I'm going to go be a father and be a school teacher, special ed, and move up here near my daughter and just sit. And it took a while for the Lord to pull me out of that and bring me back and then use me. But it wasn't until because I always had So, and then when he brought me back, I was involved again. I was involved in men's ministry, but I always had this thing where I was always challenging people, just like I do on my videos. I always try to challenge people and to, to, to actually follow Jesus and to make that the number one thing in your life, not your family, not your comfort, not your 401, not your retirement, not your toys, not your, if you're in the US, you have like motorcycles and RVs, and none of that is really important. What's important is follow with Jesus. That's why he died on a cross. Anyway, so that, but I always knew there was something more, right? So then one day, apparently about 5 years ago, give or take, when I was 60 something, then I just hit this point where I was finally ready to say, whatever you want, Lord, whatever you want, Lord. And that's when He called us to the Philippines. That's a whole long story, but I'm not going to tell that whole long story. But I'm going to tell you this: those who wait on the Lord. Well, I was waiting on the Lord, but I didn't know I was waiting on the Lord. But I was just trying to be, I was trying to be His, and I never let go of Him, and He never let go of me. Even more importantly, because I'm not saying I didn't sin and stumble, but He never let go of me. And then when I was over 60, 65 or something, He calls me and says, "This is it." And that's when I wait, and that's when I mounted up with wings. And so, even though I'm 70 years old in tomorrow, even though I'm 70, or I guess I was born in the U.S., so the day after tomorrow, however that works, time change. But even though I'm 70 years old, I feel like I have more strength in Him. I have more knowledge of Him. I have more communication with Him. I have a more better. You like my English? I is am educated. I have a stronger faith and I have a stronger walk than I ever had, even though that's another story. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I've stumbled, blah, blah, blah. But 70 years old, your life can start. And I feel like as I look back on it and where I am now and how I'm living on my retirement, and almost half of the retirement money goes into the ministry, and I'm very, very happy about that. I forget about the tithe, brother. I give you it all, right? Because it's all his. Another brother of mine says, well, you got to take care of your money. And, sometimes I always hold back when I speak to some of these people. And then usually I say, why didn't you just tell them in your heart? Say, it's not your money, man. You don't have to worry about it. Well, I have to protect my money. And there's nothing wrong with protecting your money and your stuff. We're supposed to be good stewards. But on the other side, it's not yours. You know what I mean? Well, these people stole this and that, and it's like, well, what did Jesus say? If they steal your shirt, give them your jacket. That's, like I say, I'll just close with this, and then I'll be done for this video. Give it away. No one can rob you. I love that. It's from Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol. Yes, my non-Christmas celebrating friends. I do love that because I love that part where his heart changes, and in the beginning it's a miserly song, money, money, give me money. In the end, it's like give it away, no one can rob you. And that's the heart that I want to have. And so I'm celebrating that. What do I want for Christmas? I mean, for Christmas. What do I want for my birthday? By the way, January 5th is officially the end of the holiday season because it's my birthday. Because it's all about me. I don't know what we're going to do much to celebrate. I still don't know what I want. I just want her to make me a nice meal. And, I want my oldest son, to come back to me and say, yeah, you're my dad. I'm sorry. I screwed up. Because you're supposed to honor your father and mother, even if they did foul up your childhood. Anyway, so what do I want for Christmas? I just want to be in His will. Lord, let me be in Your will for my birthday. Now, see, I said it again. There goes my little brain, my little sometimers. What do I want for my birthday, guys? I just want to be in His will. That's what I want. I want Him to keep me in His will, and I want my will to be His will. God bless you guys. Ta-ta for now.